Welcome to Build with Rob. I am Rod Dyrdek, CEO and founder of the Dyrdek Machine. We are a company that creates companies. Okay, we systematically fuse art, science, and magic to manufacture amazing. We use a little thing called the machine method. And guess what? I systematically fuse art, science, and magic to manufacture an amazing life using a little thing I call the machine mindset. And
school today, so
yeah, hey, make it happen. Make it happen. Look, it was a pleasure to meet you, man. I wish you all the best.
Hey, Rob, thank you, bro, for real, man.
All right, be good.
Have a good one.
Who said you needed ice to stay cool? Keeping food and drinks cold outdoors and on the go just got easier with the all-new, state-of-the-art Anywhere fridge. Imagine a world where you're no longer bound to a wall outlet just to maintain proper refrigeration or freezing capabilities. A world in which you're free to go anywhere at any time without limitations. Well, imagine no more, because keeping food and drinks cold outdoors and on the go just became much easier with the new, state-of-the-art Anywhere fridge. The Anywhere fridge can even be charged from a standard car outlet or just leave it outside. It's solar-powered. Who would have thought technology could improve on something so simple, and yet here it is, the Anywhere fridge. You could even use it for grocery shopping. No need to rush home just to put your groceries away anymore, especially if you're pressed for time. Now you can save time, save money, and save gas with the Anywhere fridge.
Hi, my name is Spencer, inventor of the Anywhere fridge. The Anywhere fridge idea came to me at a very young age of 13 years old. One of my visions with the Anywhere fridge is to not only have it for recreational uses such as camping, the beach, hiking, etc., although those things are nice, but I also envisioned to give back to those in need who otherwise wouldn't have access to power and or refrigeration, especially in cases such as natural disasters or hurricanes, or even if you needed to keep vaccines cold and refrigerated or maintain a certain temperature. With the Anywhere fridge, you can do all of that because it's solar powered, you can take it anywhere. Not only does it run all day and night, but it does have its own integrated battery, so it's truly self-sustaining even on cloudy days. Thank you.
Spencer Trotter, welcome to Build with Rob. How are you?
Oh, I am better than I deserve. Thank you.
Man, great to see you. Great to see you, man. Explain to me the product. Tell me the vision, and give me sort of the status on where you're at right now.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, so, the Anywhere fridge initialized with me as a young boy at the age of 13, actually. And so it's been a long time in the making. And what we did throughout the years is we tried to build the prototypes, make sure the technology worked and whatnot. And now we're at a point where obviously the technology can all come together. So with that being said, we've started a Kickstarter campaign on it, raised some funding so we can try to get it on the market.
And then what did, now the Kickstarter is live right now, or did you already go through the Kickstarter?
We had already went through the Kickstarter campaign.
And then what'd you end up raising on that?
So on Kickstarter, well, prior to Kickstarter, we actually did an Indiegogo campaign. We raised about $170,000 on Indiegogo.
Wow.
And I'll tell you what, Rob, on the Kickstarter campaign, we launched it, and we raised $34,000 in 4 hours.
Wow. And so where'd you end up doing with all that?
So with that, what we tried to do is get the mass production manufacturing done so that way we can deliver the product to our customers and get the inventory done and so forth. But we did come across kind of a crossroads there to where we found out, well, we needed a little bit more sweat equity and capital to get the mass production of the product finished for our customers.
Yeah, because how much does it end up costing building the entire unit? And how much you sell it for at retail?
So essentially, we did the numbers and the math and so forth. And in Shenzhen, China, we got it down to about $350 a unit to manufacture. To retail, we put it down to about $989 a pop.
Yeah, yeah, and therein lies the great conundrum as an entrepreneur with a vision who's like, you know what I mean? Who's like pushed it and driven it all the way through all these years, through Indiegogo, who getting all the way to China, doing local news, getting it anywhere and everywhere we can get it to tell the story to the vision of what is a great product. But it is, you are now in this sort of conundrum of where you're competing against an Igloo for like $40 to have this much more high-valued, longer, better option that you could plug your cell phone into and charge, whatever it may be. Does it have plugs and adapt to like charge other items and stuff like that, or is it strictly just the processor for the cooling?
So initially, when I invented it, I thought of it just to be a refrigerator. But then, I thought along the lines as to, well, people like convenience, they like luxury. So we implemented the AC outlet. You can plug anything into it. 2 thumb drive outlets. You can plug your cell phones into it. So not only is it a refrigerator and freezer, but it also acts as a solar power generator as well. So that way it's a totally off the grid doomsday product, if you will.
Yeah. And hey, and to that point, has there been, where have you attempted to sell it, and have you attempted to sell it in retail and people that sort of support, not hardcore doomsday preppers, but people that sort of just, the retailers that kind of support all the emergency equipment? Have you attempted to try to get them to buy in?
As a matter of fact, I'm glad you asked that question. It's a great question. We actually have, and I'll give you a couple examples. We've tried to get it into REI, Bass Pro Shop, Big Five, stores like that, camping stores. We were also looking into, say, the Red Cross and even Doctors Worldwide or Doctors Without Borders for things of that nature. So that way they can keep vaccines frozen and refrigerated and things of that nature, and things that are very important like that to the medical field, to where they can transport it across the entire world. And
then what happened? Did you just keep running into that price point? I mean, is that what keeps getting you?
It's the age-old saying, you got to have money to make money, right? Yeah. So that's the conundrum there, where we need that initial capital to invest, so that way we can mass produce it, then prove ourselves and so forth. Just like, for instance, like REI, the camping store, a retailer store like that, they want to see prior sales prior to putting a product into their stores, of course, across America. So that's the catch-22 that we run into, and you can only raise so much money on crowdfunding. So
yeah. Look, I think it's a really, really cool product, right? Obviously, you put in the time to evolve it and over time and make it better and better. And my instincts, always drive to that price point, right? Where it's just like, man, it's when the innovation or the service, if you will, has such a big gap between the what you would consider like the alternative, which is ice, right? Like, in that sort of aspect, and it really had me thinking of like, wow, like is the actual like the fact of trying to make it anywhere and portable somewhat prohibitive, right? Because really it's the solar and the processor or the whatever that keeps it cool. It's probably where the majority of your cost is, right? And it's like, if you had a more larger fridge, albeit more expensive to ship and not portable, but you now had a fridge outside, or whatever, like that now, like literally anywhere in a village, in a, wherever it may be, that now can have a lot more capacity that would be a similar price, right? Where it really is like, a fridge that can be anywhere, that does not need grounded power, is just something that I was thinking, if you were having resistance to getting one for one, because then it's like, hey, this is more comparable to a regular fridge, and you don't need an outlet to have this thing working for you. You know what I mean? I
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's just something that I was thinking that I think, you may want to consider, because it still stays online with your, anywhere fridge, because ultimately it's that solar power that makes the great differentiator. It's just a matter of, man, is this my, Rolls Royce cooler, versus like, this is a refrigerator that I don't need to plug in, you know what I mean? That we can keep at our fishing cabin and keep in our, whatever, these truly off the grid places. Is something that if I was you, I would just like think about in your roadmap and sort of your potential, especially on that B2B side, getting with those doctors and those sort of worlds where if it scales up, it has a different sort of value, versus like that portable side, which then the competition is ice, man. It's lice, and versus like full refrigeration, which is a much different ball game, where now you've got all the groceries and for people that don't have it. But I don't know. That's just, as someone who looks at everything through that sort of lens of what is the friction, what is the friction, and that potentially is, and then maybe at scale, and or even getting an understanding of what the customer would pay, right?
Sure.
If they're like, oh, we could sell, if this was 200 all day long, and not saying that's real, but at least there's like some marker in there that you can hunt for and understand where the potential of that cost, where the economies are that get there, and if they even can. But that's just some general thought of really, as I was thinking about as a whole, as a consumer now, you know what I mean? And like, how would I use it? Where would I use it? Like, what would I pay it for? And I just kept like, I keep looking at the cooler, and it's a cooler alternative, as opposed to the refrigerator alternative, which is a different concept, but has the economics and the service and value prop that might be worth, considering, since you've done all this legwork,
Well, that's a great question, and I'm glad that you brought this up, Rob, because it's funny, because we actually, the one we're advertising online, that is our base model. We actually have 3 different models. We have a smaller version, which is much cheaper as well. It's in that $300 range that you were talking about. And we also have a recreational model, which is actually the size of a standard refrigerator, which it still folds down and transforms and collapses down to 5 inches. So if you wanted to put it in the bed of your truck and go hunting, put a whole deer in it, you can even do that. So we do actually have that variety of different price ranges and sizes.
How much is that big one?
So the big one, that currently retails for about $2,500, because obviously the capacity of it. And in all the refrigerators, it's actually state-of-the-art technology. So we're not really just using your standard compressor with Freon, because Freon is, it's bad for the ozone layer or whatnot. We're using what you call a solid state compressor. So that way it lasts longer and it freezes more. So it goes 8 degrees below Celsius, which is 8 degrees below zero.
Wow. Yeah, look, you did it all. You know what I mean? And it's like when you make the Rolls Royce, you know what I mean? It's like, there's like another level in Ferraris, right? You can buy a regular Ferrari, then you can buy the special edition Ferraris, and then if like you are someone who's bought like 100 regular and special edition Ferraris, they allow you to make a one-off Ferrari that's like, $10 million for you to make. But it's like, man, there's a few amount of people that will ever get there, and
Sure.
it is the idea when you create a luxury product, that ultimately, like really understanding who that consumer is, and all of these sort of technology and this sort of additional tech that you've added to it, it's they're willing to pay for the customer that has the money, right? So that's the really interesting side of it. But look, super interesting. I do think there's probably a sweet spot in cost there that changes everything. But yeah, hit me with the questions. I know you got a couple questions.
I do, as a matter of fact, I was actually wondering, in my personal goals with the Anywhere Fridge, is to eventually give back to those in need who otherwise wouldn't have access to power and or refrigeration in other foreign countries, and give them the opportunity to have a product like this, where they can actually, it's a life-sustaining product in their situation. In our situation, we have a lot of luxury in the United States. They don't have that much luxury. This would be everything for them. So that's one of my ultimate goals. And, I'm just curious, now that you're at the point to where you're at in your success, what are a couple of your goals ultimately now?
I mean, look, from a philanthropy side, I'm just launched the Do or Die Foundation. I put $1 million into the foundation to launch it. And really, for me, it's like, I know how much learning the skills of being an entrepreneur can not only serve you for a lifetime, but ultimately help you live a better life and help you learn to be the CEO of your life, as Defy Ventures says. And I've partnered then with other great charities, with Defy Build, that have programs to teach entrepreneur skill sets, and then donate to them, and I'm doing business plan learning competitions as a way for them to earn non-dilutive capital, right? For me, right? In the sense of like, I think as I continue to find the success, like I believe sort of the mindset and the skill set that's learned in this world is really beneficial for you forever. Even if your first couple ventures fail, you continue to evolve and get better. And then when I think about like how valuable like having one of your fridges in these places that don't have access to power, and how there's probably a lot of charities that may support that, because it'd be really interesting to go out and find some of these charities that work with places that don't have running water and power, and be like, hey, every time we sell one, like, would you buy one at cost and donate it to one of those places, right? Because it's almost like, yeah, like it's almost like rather than you bake it into your margin the way that like a Tom's does, where it's like they sell one pair, give one away, the way Bombas does, exactly. That's critical. It's very difficult for a business like yours, but you have the product and the technology. Be really interesting for you to connect with a foundation or another charity that is already supporting those regions, and be like, hey, every time if we did a partnership, I would sell one to you for cost to donate there. And that would be a really interesting way for you to be able to scale your sort of vision of how to use what you've created to help other people with a partnership, in a way that's a win-win for everybody. That would be really, really interesting thing, I think, maybe for you to explore and potentially approach as well.
That is a fantastic idea. I actually didn't even think of that. I appreciate that info. That's that just might work too.
Yeah, because it's like you have the product, and it's just you can't give it away, but you know what an impact it would make. But there's charities that have tons of cash that are looking for the right programs to deploy that cash. And man, you could be the perfect fit, man. And how beautiful would that be? Every time someone buys one, boom, you can show instant impact on what you're doing for a place that doesn't have it. And I think that alone could be the awareness and the reason for people to pay more for it, right? Because it's like, okay, it's not only that, but this is what it's doing. So I don't mind overpaying for the service for the actual impact that it's making on Earth. You know what I mean? So
my sentiments exactly.
Yeah, and think about that. It's the uniqueness of the game of building a business and playing the game of margin and cost of goods and customer acquisition and awareness, and how you can be of service for the product and technology you created. That's a really interesting way of making it all come together. That could not only elevate you and your business, but then elevate like the impact that you desire to create and accelerate it at a much quicker pace.
Absolutely. And that is just I was going to mention to you as well, one of the great things about the Anywhere Fridge 2 that we implemented is before COVID, we even put UV lights in it, so it kills all kinds of different diseases: salmonella, E. coli poisoning, COVID. So that way it's sanitized and always healthy, and your food's always great. And there you go, bam.
Yeah, you got something there. You got something there. That's a super unique sort of business model, but man, you get the right support, and man, it's lights out. It's lights out.
Thank you. I really appreciate you saying that, because I'll tell you what, this has been a lifelong dream for me, and I've been working on it for about 20 some odd years, and it is definitely turned into more than just a dream. I've made quite a bit happen with it, and at this point, if I can get it to the point to where it needs to be, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. What other question you got for me?
I've been meaning to ask you, because when I first became an entrepreneur, it all initialized at the age of 13, and that's how I invented the Anywhere fridge. And the way I was inspired to do it is because I would sell candy door to door, and it would melt. And so I needed to think of something that would keep it, cool. So that inspired me to create the product and become an entrepreneur. But my question is, what initially drove you and inspired you to do what it is you're doing and become a philanthropist and entrepreneur as well?
I mean, look, I recently made a video of like, you don't like choose to be an entrepreneur, and if you have to ask, should I be an entrepreneur, then you shouldn't be one.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
entrepreneurs.
Yeah, and I think for me, I like to say I was raised by entrepreneur wolves. I first called a skate shop when I was really young. They had a ramp in the back. Would you let me skate it? But I couldn't afford it. Would you let me skate for free if I get 10 people to pay? And they thought it was ridiculous. Like, why don't you just come down here? And so it opened the door to me seeing the young entrepreneur who founded that skate shop, and then watched him start all these companies. And I just, in my mind, it was just already part of my identity. When I became a pro skateboarder. I left high school when I was 16 to be a pro skateboarder. I used to call myself a brand back then in 91 and track all my finances, and I moved to California and started my first company, built my first company with an operator, Soup to Nuts, Orion Aluminum, when I was 17, and so for me, I was raised by serial entrepreneurs and assumed that's what I was too. And so I just started company after company as different sort of opportunities presented themselves, DC, and now having Signature Footwear, and then getting really big. Now I had much more capital. Then I started opening retail stores and record labels. I started dabbling in all these different sort of things. And then ultimately, it evolved into television and the scale and the reach that I had with television. Then I started building all these other companies, and I did movies and launched my pro skateboarding league and cartoons and toy stores and Walmart. I ended up with such this world of experience that it also led me, into a bit of chaos, because I had found so much success and failure simultaneously that I wasn't sure what really worked or what I liked doing the most. And then when I finally took the time to really evaluate, what it was I was most passionate about, what I really wanted my life and legacy to be about, it slowly codified and formed into what the machine is today. Because I realized I'm actually most passionate about creating, and I love creating businesses from the idea stage. And I wanted to create a system that allowed me to do it consistently and get better and better at making it sustainable, profitable, and successful. Because business, is always amazing when it works. And it's painful when you're fighting to figure it out. And it is the ultimate gut punch, identity breaker, soul crusher when you've got to finally say goodbye to something. And you never, ever get over it. You know what I mean? As I was saying it, I was just thinking through a handful of companies that I had to end, and it still is the scar is like a wound that never fully heals. You know what I mean? Plenty of lessons and so much learned, but you never set out on a venture with the goal of it ever not working. You know what I mean? But yeah, look, that's sort of like the journey that led me to that, and I think everybody kind of goes on that discovery, and the goal is, to create the right idea and keep fighting. If you're super passionate about it like you, and maybe it's one conversation with it, one video to the Dyrdek machine, and one conversation with Rob that opens up your mind to just think of one more angle that now opens it up and it goes. Like that's one thing of why I call it the art, science, and magic. You got to design it and create it. There's fundamentals of business, but boy, there's that intangible one sort of bit of magic that can make all the difference in a business becoming successful.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I am more than open to new ideas, and just like you were mentioning before, to contact, people like the Red Cross and so forth. That is just, that's a great thing, because if I can get a hold of those companies that are already doing these kind of things for their shoes and so forth, that'd be probably a door opener there.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, man, I wish you the absolute best, man. You keep pushing and make it happen, man. Impact the world.
Thank you so much, Rob. Right. And pleasure being on your show. I appreciate the opportunity.
All right. Be good. All right, there you have it. Another episode of Build with Rob. Thank you all for continuing to support the show and always listening. Of course, like, subscribe wherever you listen to the show. You want to get more involved with us down here at the machine, become a machinist. Go to dyrdekmachine.com, sign up to be a machinist, be part of our process. You got a great idea, pitch it to us. We love hearing entrepreneur ideas, and you might just end up on this show as well, So again, anything you do, I don't care what it is, you got to have a vision. You got to know what you want to do. You got to build a plan to actually do it, and then you got to commit and give it everything you got until it happens. See it, believe it, and do it. Until next time, it's your boy Rod Dyrdek.